Hello everyone, welcome to Scalar's YouTube channel. This is Shivai and I'm an instructor at Scalar. Today, we're going to be learning about backend web development with the help of Node.js. Now, before we understand the topics that will be covered in the topic, make sure that you subscribe to Scalar's YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any of the upcoming tech content. Also, if you want to learn about different type of technologies and frameworks that are the latest trends in the industry, do check out the Scalar events where we conduct free masterclasses taken up by leading industry experts. And the link will be provided in the description of the video. So now let's take a look at what we are going to be learning today. So as we have covered in the first part of this entire series, we have covered front-end web dev. Today, we are going to be focusing on backend. So we'll be getting started with backend and we'll understand what are APIs, we'll understand about the JSON structure, how do the client and the server communicate with each other, and then of course we'll look at some of the more industrial standards with respect to HTTP and WebSockets, and then of course how you can do authentication. So really just understanding how the entire server-side architecture looks like. Then we'll also look at more tools that help you with backend development, including things like browser consoles, Postman, and how to actually demonstrate the response that you get from an API on a front-end application. Then we'll look at proper development with Node.js. So we'll be getting started with Node.js development, look at how you can set up an Express server, how you can create API requests and responses with the help of Node.js and Express. Then we'll also look at how you can make database connectivity with the help of MongoDB, where we'll understand how to define models, schemas, and also bring up some of the more NoSQL concepts, such as what are the differences between NoSQL and SQL. And then we'll also showcase a successful demonstration with the help of MongoDB and our Express server. So let's head to our first topic, and that's going to be all about different type of requests and how server and client architectures look like.
So initially starting with what is communication. So this is the basic step. So how we will be reaching the extensive like the web of how web page just communicate with the server. So starting with the basic definition of what is communication. So as usual, if you have a group, so basically one friend talk to us and then we have, so basically we have a conversation go on like that. Hey, how are you? So that reply come on, I am fine. And we will be discussing about a particular topic or something. So we have a particular conversation going on between a group. So this is basically someone is asking a question or they are requesting a query from you and you are basically responding to that. So basically we will be focusing on that, and the same way how we generally communicate in the real life. So that's how computers and internet communicate with each other. So basically if we have created a server and that's basically locally, so a computer can also communicate with one application to other, or we can also communicate from one computer to another computer. Also that computer can be within a room or in a city or in a country or can be worldwide. And also like as astronaut go outside earth, so basically within the exploration of space. So that's why a communication should be happen between both of like with us too as well as with from their end too. So basically that's how we are communicating with each other. And similar way how internet is so useful for these type of communication. So basically internet is a medium over which we communicate things from one end to other. So that's why our server can be either in US or in any city of India, and our device is, for example, we are in New Delhi. So basically, our PC can be in New Delhi, and they would be communicating with the server in US. So that's how, like, as I've shown you an example of how we just type the IP address or the domain like google.com, and we can see a page show up on our screen, like the Google homepage, where we can search through the stuff. So that's how a communication begin. Like we are on a browser, so browser requests something from the Google server, and Google server in response give back a whole web page along with some designing, along with some functionality like on click or like searching ability and much stuff. So that's how they are communicating with each other. So coming over, so we will be basically talking about server communication. So we have at the base level, so we have two type of communication that we can see in our daily day-to-day life. So basically the first one is the single-sided communication. So if you are in a simple e-commerce site, so we can take an example of e-commerce site. So basically you click on a screen and uh, you just like a bag. So basically you click on add to cart and that bag is being taken to your cart, and then further uh, continuing by like adding up the address, and again by clicking on the payment information, and then having a delivery come up to our doorstep. So the process behind these all are a simple single-sided communication. So basically, browser request to the server, like I want to add this particular item to my cart. So they just took that item and put it into your cart, and again with further of the information. And again, we have the second type of communication, that is bi-sided communication. So we have a simple overlay system about this, like client request from server, and now in bi-sided communication server can also request from client. Now what I meant by this is, for example, in single-sided communication, so we have a simple request and response, like overlay type of thing. Like a client just hit a request, like we are on the browser, and I have just type I want to search for this thing. So basically browser has given a command, particular command with some query, like I want to search for a bag, to the server, and the server have all the database access as well as all the query or functions available on the server. So basically that server processes all the requests as well as all the query, and then they have the database, they search in that database, and further they just give all the response and all the bags that are available at the in the database on to the front end or the browser that are being visible over there. So basically it is a single sided communication where browser requests from server, and bi-sided communication is now we can take example of chat application like WhatsApp or Signal. So basically what it does is, if you have sent a data like a message to your friend, so basically at that particular instance of time the message should be visible on their screen too. So how this happen is, we just transfer a particular message to our server, so that message just go back to go to the server, and then that browser may create a new request, and then that request is being sent to client, and then the client respond back that I got the new message, and the new message is available to be displayed. So then that message is being displayed over the client screen, the another friend screen. So that's how single-sided is the one-way communication. A server cannot access the data of the front end, but in the bi-sided communication, front server can also request the client to handle some of the information and give it back to the server. So how these are used basically, so we have different type of protocols to be used. So in single sided, so we have a traditional HTTP, that is hypertext transfer protocol, as well as HTTPS protocol, to basically have a common type of transmission of data from client to server. So HTTPS means simple hypertext transfer protocol, secured. So we have some encryption layer over it, and our data is being encrypted at the client end, and then go back sent to the server, and there it is being decrypted. So basically our data is safely stored within the server. So in bi-sided communication, so we use WebSocket. So they have generally have two type of protocol, that is WS WebSocket and WSS WebSocket secured. So again, that's the same concept of how secured worked in HTTP, but it the only difference is now the server can also access can request the data from the client. So basically having a bi-sided communication with each other. So this is the bi-sided communication that we generally have in our day-to-day life. Like we request something to other and they send back the response, and they can also ask some question. So in single-sided communication, so I can only ask question, but the other person cannot request something. So again, having an example of simple REST APIs or simple form that are visible over the screen in the single-sided communication, like we enter my when I enter my name in a address form, and I enter my address along with some mobile number and click on submit, then that request is being sent to the server, and that server just stored that information in the database. And in the bi-sided communication, so both of them can request the data from each other. So coming to the next point, so basically, if we are initializing with how we will be integrating APIs uh, with our front end along with the HTML document or JavaScript. So basically, we have to recall the idea that about in the previous module that we have discussed about the concept of object as well as arrays. So I would be having again recalling you the idea. So how objects in array are different from each other and some basic concepts. So getting back to mm, VS Code or not VS Code. So we can initialize this as just go to these thoughts again more tools. So these are the developer tools that we will be using in the modules. So mm, go to the console tab. So this is the basically the main JavaScript console in which all the JavaScript code run and interpret, and then the output would be visible. So a basic example would be alert. So as I've given in the previous module, so alert give us a pop-up on the browser. So hi. So when I hit enter, so alert would be visible. So this is a simple function. So returning to recalling about the concept of how objects in array are made. So basically, and how they are used. So we have a simple term. So const mean we are declaring a constant, and again these are available in the new JavaScript version, that is ECMAScript. So uh, I will be giving a particular name like new object followed by a curly braces, and then I would be giving this contain a key value pair basically. So the values are fetched by key. So I would be giving the name as key. So if I want to recall a particular name, so my name is Raghav, and separating by comma if I want to give other keys too. So for example, my email ID is simple abc at google.com, and then returning the simply closing the object by simple closing curly braces. So this is how I have declared a object. So how if I want to get a name, so what I will do is I will just type the object that I've created along with the variable name. So basically that return me a particular object. So I can also expand that object that's being returned, and I can rather retrieve the information that is available in these key. So how can I, if I want to get the name, so I will be just writing a new object dot name. So that would return me my name, as well as if I want to, there is another notation. So how I can approach to this name. So this is the term that I've used is this is dot notation, and there is another block notation. So that have that's followed by a simple new object without any dot. So we would be having a block parenthesis above, having the particular key name inside it. So basically when I click enter, so again the name is being returned, and if I want to get ID, So basically new object dot email ID. So this is the dot notation as well as this is the block notation. So in this two type, so we can basically get our data. So again, how why we are using these two notation? So again, that would be again you will be cleared in the upcoming time. So in this module only. So basically, if I again check the type of this particular new object, so again this the type of this variable is an object. So again, so having a basic clarity of how object look like, and again the object can also contain a numerous number of objects. So if I just write a is equal to, so again, let my key would be x value is 1. Then again there is another key y that again contain an object. So that have a key name, then have name Raghav. So again that can have another set of object, and then it can either have array object, it can have numerous number of values. Also can also have functions. So basically, I have another variable or another key z, so that denotes an array of 1, 2, and 3, and then closing the object by simple uh, closing curly braces. And then how can I get the name? So I would be writing just a dot. So iterating over these key value pairs. So in X that contain the value 1. So again my name would won't be fetched through X. So I would be iterating toward Y. So yeah, I can get my name toward Y. But how I can get my value Raghav from this object again? So I would be writing A that denotes this object variable name again following by the key y. So that return me a object. So again, recalling back to the previous thing that we have done earlier. So this a dot y is almost similar to the new object that we have created. So again, we can fetch this name element by typing a dot y dot name. Again, at this point of time, we have successfully retrieved the name that is available within this object. And now what if I want to get this too? So going back to the concept of array, so I would be declaring an array, new array. So this contain a particular one, like
Raghav, could you just
one.
increase the size of your browser if it's possible?
Okay, now it must be good. Sorry for the small text size. So basically explaining from the initial instance. So basically what I have done is created a simple object. So in second instance, I have just retrieved the value of the object. So what is the value of object is this particular uh, key value pairs enclosed within the curly braces. So when I expand this object, so we have a first key name email ID that contain a particular my email ID value, and the second contains the name key and the name value. And again, if I want to fetch my name from this object, so what I will do is I would be just writing the object variable name along with the dot mean I would be iterating within the object, and again I would be writing it the key in which the value is given. So that return new object dot name, which means value Raghav would be visible over the screen. And another way of doing this is again calling it by the bracket notation. So this is the dot notation, so representing by dot name, and this is the bracket notation. So bracket notation do have a simple like uh, simple double inverted comma or single inverted comma along with, so representing it as a string. So how it is being different, so I would be getting back to this topic in this module only after a while. So when I just click on type of the object. So basically the type is object only. So again, object can be have another object in itself. So they can have child object. So how can I access this value within the object's value? So again, writing it as a.y that return me a object. So this is similar to the previous notation that we have written. So again, to get my name, so I would be writing a.y that correspond to this object, and again dot name. So again, that correspond to the name. So a.y dot name. So you can compare a simple objects in JavaScript to hash maps if you studied in C or C++ or Java. So basically, hash map has the key value pair and they run in O of one complexity. So basically, you can compare this particular variable data type to hash maps. So this is the most common data type that we will be using in JavaScript, and this is the base concept of how API would be working. So that's why I am re-explaining this whole concept. So basically, we would be using these concept only in this module. So how we would be recalling the main idea of integrating APIs to our HTML document. So basically having another variable name as new array. So I would be declaring it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would be closing with the simple bracket, square brackets, and again, when if I want to get any of the value. So I can perform numerous amount of operation in this array. So basically I can iterate over each and every element of array by just writing a simple for loop like let I is equal to 0, I should be less than this new array length. So basically how I want to get how can I get the whole length of the array? So by writing dot length. So length is a keyword within the array. So this length is not there in the objects or functions. This is only available in strings as well as arrays. So again, I should be incremented. So what is does this? So basically, I initial value of I is 0, and then I should be less than. This is a simple type of loop that I want to iterate over each and every element of this array. So how I can represent every element of array is, so basically I would be consoling. I would be printing all the values. So basically, I would be writing new array denoting by then succeeding by a curly braces. Oh, simple square bracket. Sorry, and following by the index number. So I represent the main index number. So starting by 0. Array always start with 0, then the second index would be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So the last index would be 4. So array dot length would return 5 because we have 5 elements in this array, but I want to get the index. So how the loop would be running? So initial value would be 0 along like succeeding by 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. When it reaches 4, it checks the value. So 4 is always less than 5, correct? So it will go in this particular uh, block and it will execute the particular condition. But then when I is iterated, so now I the value of I is 5. So this time 5 is not less than 5. 5 is equal to 5, but it is not less than 5 at this instance of time. So our condition get false. So the condition this iteration or block would not executed. So basically I would be writing the index, simple index denoting by this square bracket along with the index, and then I would be closing this and closing this for loop. When I hit enter, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have iterated over each and every element. So when I again uh, display array, so what I get is a simple array denoting by the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 along with the values along with the length that we are getting. So the total length of array is 5 along with these are index, and the left hand side are the index then having a light blue color, and the right hand side that is available in the purple color. So these are the simply values in the array. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now, if we check the type of new array, so this again come an object, but it should return an array. If uh, someone has thought about of this, so basically there are no concept of array in JavaScript. So array in JavaScript are basically special type of objects only. So if you recall our idea that we have done, so I have already created an object along with I have created a new array. So again, expanding these two values. So these two have something in common. Basically having key value pairs if you denote. So having like if we are writing email ID, so this denote key, and again we have the value. Again, if you like compare these to an array, so we have this index as a key and we have this as a value. And again, if you compare this concept to like the term that we have used along with the dot and as well as the block notation. So in arrays, so we have used the block notation along with denoting this string as a particular index number. So that return us the value. So this is why how we can use these type of notation within the same objects. So again, denoting by a particular array. So array are the special kind of objects. So this have to be kept in mind. So again, if uh, I have declared a variable a with basically having a key value pair of x, y, z. So basically again by clicking on a dot z, that return us an array. So a dot z dot, or and like I cannot write dot zero. It will throw an error. As in dot notation, we cannot use number or any unused variables. So basically how I can type it as, so basically denoting a particular length. So that return me a 1. So that's why we are using a block notation instead of a simple dot notation for using this type of for handling this type of stuffs. So again, we have iterated and recalled our whole concept of how we are using this. We have discussed about how objects in array are covered and how we will be creating that. And now coming toward the JSON. So what is a JSON? So basically, while we are working with the API, so these are the very lightweight data format. So if I want to transfer, if a browser requests something from the server, so basically server just send back some data after being processed. So what type of data is being sent from the server? That is nothing but JSON. So JSON is a common type of data transfer format, but like there are many other format too. Like we can send data in a simple string number, or like even we can create some XML document we can send back to them, and also like we can throw a simple CSS file, JS file along with some HTML web pages, or it can be images, it can be any stuff. But basically what type of data is being contained within a simple API. So basically the simplest form of APIs in today's generation that we will be using is the JSON. That's nothing but JavaScript object notation. So that means the concept that we have studied right now, like how we will be creating objects and arrays. So that the JSON is being derived from that application. So basically JSON is an application of objects and array. So that's why its name is JavaScript object notation. So basically, we are we have the particular notation in the form of objects as well as array. So this is a particular example. So how a JSON would be looking like. So just we have a common difference. So instead of having a simple key value pair, so the key do also have the uh, double inverted commas as in this example. But in JavaScript, again, we can declare in this format also, and also we can simply declare in without inverted commas. So again, JSON is very lightweight in terms of while we are transferring the data from the server to the client, so that client can again be having some iteration over it, and again would be fetching all the information and displaying over it. Again, we will be having a hands-on session on how we can integrate all the API coming from the backend. Again, JSON is easily understandable, and again anyone can read it. As you can see in this example, we have this particular object again, discussing about the simple key value pair, how we can get to a particular value. If I want to get the user ID, so what I will do is, so getting back to this object, so I would be storing this particular object in a variable, then calling that variable dot d dot results. So in the results, so we have an array, so I would, this is the first element, so I would be writing, I would be taking the index 0, denoting by enclosed within the closed brackets. So again, I would be fetching, I would be getting this object, so I would be writing dot user ID. So it's a bit complex process, but generally the JSON is simplified as in terms, so we can perform a same kind of function each and everywhere in the code while we are designing in front end as well as in the back end. So we have the common type of structure, all of that. So I would be representing that too. And again, comparing it to JSON, oh, JSON to XML. So XML stands for extensible markup language, same as HTML. Like it do have a tree structure. So for example, so how this can be read as, so basically, let me increase the screen size. Yeah. So basically, the document itself start from .xml along with some version or other stuff too, like encoding in itself. So then proceeding by what this document would be containing. So we have a bunch of data. So again, that can have employees, then employee contain, again, as we are having, you can compare this whole document to a simple HTML tags and values. So again, in childhood while being in school, so you definitely must have read about what XML is. XML is used for storing data, but how we can visualize in the real life, but no one has explained us. So that's why like you comparing all the HTML document to this. So basically, the API do through this particular XML document, and we have to decrypt the whole document. We have to fetch the value, and again, we would be having the value fetch from these tree structure. So it sometime bit messed up at the front end side as well as creating the whole document. But how we can compare this XML to the simple JSON data that we are talking about? So what it do is, so we have simple employee sheet. So we in the employee, so we have simple employee and having an ID of one. Again, we would be employee. Yes. So not every tag should be, if I am creating a tag, so that tag should be ended. We can create multiple type of tag, but that tag should be contain a similar amount of similar data. Again, if I have written this employee, and again, if I can do this to have a bit more clarity. So basically, I have started an HTML document. I am creating an employee list, and I have created the first employee having a name of Raghav. Then we can have other type of data in it, again with mobile number, address, and pin code and city. We can have multiple type of stuff, and we can also map uh, within it. We can have numerous number of trees as well as child tags within it. Again, name, we can denote first name, last name, We can create another tags, but this is a simple example. So again, this is a employee 2 with a new ID. Again, this is a new XML document, as you can see. So it is now a bit clear. So we have Shivai with an ID too. So this is a simple format of how an XML document would look like and how values are being contained within it. And now if we compare this whole XML object to an array or to the JSON that we are talking about. So what we would be writing it as, we would be creating a simple object denoting by these curly braces, hitting enter. And I just would be writing this employee list and followed by a simple colon. So now the number of employees that we have here denotes a particular array. So this is an array of index 0, index 1. So we can basically just type it as an array. It contains a particular list of employee that we have. And again, we can create a particular by hitting enter. So again, we have some data type like we have ID, we have name. So what we can denote it as, like we can again we can compare it to a simple object. So having simple object like structure. So it can be an array of simple number. It can be array of objects. Of again, we can have array of objects of array of objects. So we can have multiple iteration, but the whole document and must be have the similar data if we are using this. So again, getting back to our current scenario, so we have an employee object with an ID 1 and name as Raghav, and we again have the second employee as ID 2 and name as Shiva. So while we are looking this and comparing it to this whole structure, so obviously this JSON object is much more, we can rely on it, it's reliable, it's more readable. Like if we want to have a employee list, so it is denoting that it's a list, it's an object, we can directly fetch the object by using this dot notation or object notation. So that's how we are using this particular kind of stuff while we are transferring data from the server. And again, it's within the O of one complexity. So that's why we are having the high speed of fetching all the information if we are taking data from these objects or structures. So while talking about array, obviously it would be having, we have to iterate over each element while displaying. So as we have a number of elements within this list, if we have 1,000 elements, so definitely it would take a time to render. But if we have a smaller amount of time, so definitely we would be taking the least amount of time while displaying. So this is how we are comparing the messy XML document to this JSON object. So here, what I mean by messy is this type of stuff. So it is a bit weird to see. So this is not Messi, the football player. Yeah. So coming back to our module. So we have till now compared how JSON structure would be look like, uh, how they are more reliable and easily understandable while we are comparing to other data type format that we are basically traditionally used for transferring the data. Now coming toward the main point, like that's the API. API stand for simply application programmable interface. So basically that something complex to remember at first instance, like so what it meant by is, so basically API is nothing but for example you have two different application, so how they can communicate with each other or in general life. So you can compare to, I am a simple human and uh, my friend is standing beside me, so how we can talk to each other, so we have a common language. So I am transferring all my information in a particular language, and that person can understand my language. So the language is one thing that I'm communicating with. So I can either use verbal language, or I can do action, or it can be if uh, the other person is blind, so we can uh, do a braille language, or we have multiple kind of uh, stuff through which we can communicate. So API allow us to communicate with each other. So that's how we can compare these two person to the server and the client architecture. So client is a single application that we are seeing, and the server is another application. So how they can communicate with each other? So they should have a proper medium over which they can communicate. So that medium is being provided by APIs. So API is nothing but they are just the medium that allow both application to communicate with each other. So basically having the same medium. So again, API is nothing but that having a function that are available on the server that executed and again transferred back to it. So these are like from front end we cannot access the Python code as well as C, C++, Java, or any other language code, but only the browser can understand three languages: HTML, CSS, and JS. And again, if we go to server, so basically server have already the compilers for different languages as well as interpreters. So basically we can execute any type of stuff, so from requesting from client to server, and then they would be processing all the information and getting back to the server for the response. So that's how online compiler and interpreter works. So these are the one type of application that how APIs are used. And again, the most common that we would be revolving around is the REST API. So REST API is nothing but the simplest form of API that we are using within the application. So this is a single-sided uh, communication, having a client just request from the server, and server in response perform some particular function and give back the response to the client side. That is further being displayed over the screen. So this is the API. So this is how where we will be starting our hands-on session. So how we can integrate the API in our whole document and how we can use it. So how a browser can request all the data from the server. So yeah, proceeding with the hands-on session. I believe like my VS Code would be visible. Yeah, so starting with the module 4. So if you have not covered the previous three modules, so you can definitely go to the GitHub Scalar Academy, and you can go to the December Web Dev Bootcamp, and you can just clone the whole repository along with the modules. And in each and every module, there is README what we have covered and what we have initialized with the presentation that we have used along with uh, the structure that we have done. So proceeding with the module 4. So again, that is basically concerned toward how we will be integrating all the APIs to HTML document, as well as how we can uh, have a communication set up between the front end as well as the back end. So going with, I would be creating a simple HTML document. So simple index.html. So again, going back to main.js. So these are the two lines that you can probably see over my screen. So we would be working with these two APIs. So I have previously created these two APIs. So again, going back to uh, the first one. So probably Shiva, you can paste the first API to the students.
Yeah.
So you must be getting this particular API either from YouTube chat, or you can just go to your github.com, followed by you can just type Raghav Dhingra. and then just get on my repository tab and go to items API. So basically
I've
you
just
can
shared it.
see awesome. So you can see these two files. So just click on item.json and click on this row button over here. So by clicking on the row button, so you will be getting a particular URL over there. So you can just copy that URL and paste it in your Visual Studio Code or whichever code editor that you are using. So that would handle all the JSON structure that is being covered in this session. So yeah, getting back toward the mm, index.html file. So initially I would be using this and I would be representing how we can use the another API. So in this API, we can rather have a bunch of request methods over there. So we can retrieve the data, we can post the data, we can update the data, we can also delete the data, and we can uh, have a bunch of operations performed over this API. And over this, we just want to have a look how we can integrate all the data coming from the server and how we can represent it on the front end. So I would be creating a simple document. So I would be closing this tab for a clear reference. So just by typing a simple exclamation mark. So in previous module two, I have explained about how this particular boilerplate template is appeared. So this is basically I have used a Visual Studio Code extension. So HTML snippets. So you can either just go to extension tab and just download the HTML snippets. So this one, and again closing this. So just by clicking on the simple exclamation mark and hitting enter, so a boilerplate template would be appeared. So these are some kind of hack that we can apply to basically uh, to reduce our development time and also to code faster. So basically, we don't have to make our uh, simpler tag to write again and again. So again, I would be referencing this to the simple script tag and script, and I would be connecting this main.js file to this index.html by referencing this main.js file to the main HTML document. So what I can do is denoting by the simple script tag along with the source attribute, and then I would be connecting this by simply typing main.js, and again these two files are being connected. So how we can check this by, I would be simply printing a hello. So saving this, and I would be running this index.html file by this, so nothing is visible. So just by clicking on this three dots, then more tools, then developer tools, go back, go to the console tab, so we can display hello over there. So that represent my main.js file is being connected to my HTML document. So going back to the Visual Studio Code. So now I would be creating a simple button. So what I can do is click me, again refresh. So I have a button, so I would make a size bit larger, so I can style it as font size of 30 pixel. It's a bit larger, but inline CSS is never preferred when we are working in real life application. So what I will do is create a new CSS file, main.css. Again, I would be declaring simple class name representing my button that have a font size of like 50 pixel, let's suppose. So I would be having and giving the class name to it. Again, so I would be giving the class name btn to it. And again, for now, I would be linking the main HTML or CSS file to it by using the link tag, and then referencing that that by the href attribute, again by main.csn, and I would be giving attribute relevance for denoting the content of this uh, document is a style sheet representing a CSS document. And again, uh, so I have successfully linked my file and created a button. So you can see the button font size is basically 50 pixels. So I want to have a particular on click function over it. So what I will do is I would give an ID of uh, request button, and I would be referencing this particular main.js to, I would be pointing, I would be having a variable name known as request button over here, and I would be referencing this variable to the this button that I've created over here with the use of ID. So what I can do is I have a particular keyword name document that represent the whole document object that we have in this browser, or the HTML file that we will be using, and I would be getting the particular element by using this get element by ID function. So I would be passing this request button ID over here. So again, checking this whether we have successfully pointed this variable to the main tag that we have just created by printing that button over the console, hitting refresh. So basically, we have successfully linked this button to our HTML document. So now what I can do is we have multiple type of operation that we can perform. So I would be just adding an on-click listener. So initially I have written a simple dot on click over here. This time I would recommend you to have a new function that you can directly integrate with it. So basically that is add event listener. So this is a function that we would be using. So basically it have two parameters. So the first one is the type of operation or the event that we want to bind to that button. So what type of operation that I want to bind is click function. So just typing it click. So intelligence have a bunch of options available on the screen. So you can select any of these options, but I want to have the click. So I would be just clicking on this click. So the first argument that add event listener function take is the event that we want to perform, and the second argument is the function. So the second argument is a callback function, like what operation we want to perform while when we click on this button. So basically I would be having a new function name as like request uh, items. So basically what it do is simply return an object that contain name Raghav and ID as 1. So this is, you can compare this particular object to an API. So this is a simple step how we can proceed with. So I can reference this particular function to the second argument. So if we are referencing and passing a function to another function, so basically add event listener is a function, and we have passed another function as request item. So it will execute when we click on the this request button. So this function that we are passing it within another function, so this function is known as callback function. So which means request item is a callback function. So callback function means a function that is executed when the previous function is being have been executed. So the when the first function is being when the first function has been executed, so it itself call the second function passed in the argument. So basically this is called a callback function. A function is calling back to the original function that is being passed. So again, going back to the console, hitting refresh. when I click on this button, so I get a particular response or object. So you can compare this to a API. So this is what we get in the response from an API. But this is not an API, this is a simple object. So how I can basically get a particular request? So I would be using this API. So I would be declaring a particular like item API and referencing to a value of simple string that denote the particular endpoint that I'm using. So basically in API term or the backend server side term, so this if I'm using a domain or an IP address, so basically this is a domain and this is the main endpoint that I'm using. So that's why. So it's a particular API. So I will be using this API. So we can use and we can call an API in three ways. So initially, either I can use the same callback functions, and again bit it not bit it's a traditional ways of how we are calling a particular function. The new concept that is being available to us is promises. So a promises is we can compare a promise to the real world application, that how we promise to each other. Like I have made a promise that I will come tomorrow with you. So if I like fulfill the promise, so I would be going with another person to a area. But if I don't fulfill that promise, so basically we have created some type of we have bond breakage between our connection. So basically, next time maybe that friend won't be asking to me to go along with them. So basically, again, we are comparing this to this JavaScript concept of promises. So if the promise is fulfilled, so we would be executing a particular code. And if the promise won't be fulfilled, so that again would not be, that would be executing a catch block. So basically having a simple uh, functionality, error handling functionality. If this API returns some type of data, so we would be handling that request if by any chance the server is not working. So this API definitely will not throw any type of data. So at that instance of time, what we will be doing? So again, if you are on YouTube or any other site, so basically there you can see a try again button. Or if my net is not working, my internet is disabled or something, if you just go to any site, so basically it would take to a game like the dragon game, where you will be pressing an simple spacebar for jumping the dragon. So basically that's what internet is not working, so please connect to the internet, or there can be site is not properly responding or something. So basically that's where error handling comes up. So when the promise is not fulfilled, so what we will be doing, and when the promise is fulfilled, when the this API returns some data, so what we will be doing. So this is the basic concept of how promises work. And the newer concept, the latest concept that we will be using is the async await. Async await is basically JavaScript is a single threaded as well as synchronous application. All the functions are basically executed at the same time, so that means synchronous. And single threaded mean it would be having a line by line, and the whole bunch of function would be running over a single plate. If we have a single plate, for example, in the real world, so I would be having that amount of food that is being placed within a single plate. I cannot just overflow that plate. And again, I would be eating from the single plate only. So that's how this JS code is being compiled, like not compiled, like interpreted within the browser. At it's an interpreted language, having run by line. And again, so basically, what async await mean? Async mean making a function asynchronous. For example, if we just hit this particular API, we just want to retrieve some data. So it definitely take some time. Either it would be as small as some 1 millisecond, 2 millisecond, or 100 millisecond, or as maximum as like infinite amount of time. Like either it can be a 10 second, 1 second. 1 second definitely it's a huge amount of time to get in response. 1 second, 2 second, 10 second, 30 seconds. So at that instance of time, what we will be doing? So we can display a lot of code, and execute other type of code, because that code is being dependable on the previous instance, previous data that is being fetched from the server or the API. So that's how async await are used. So now getting back to the previous concept, so we have declared a simple variable with the a simple API request, and what we will be doing is we will be requesting a simple function. So we would be having a response from it. So simple response. So what we will be doing is we have a function name as fetch. So this is the most common function to uh, having a simple request. So basically internally what it all uses is a simple XML HTTP request. So as I've stated, like we have an XML in everywhere, because traditionally when browser is being made, so that only XML is used to store the data and being transferred from document to document. So basically internally we use XML HTTP request. So basically we create a new request. We have some, so XML HTTP request is a class. So we create a new class, a new object instance of this, and we pass the particular endpoint. But we then have to get the status, and we also have to pass some callback functions. So it's a bit tricky for a developer to handle all the stuff at the same time. So there's how fetch function come in play. So basically it definitely have a uh, like we just have to pass this function in order to call the, in order to get all the data from the server. So internally, it definitely uses a simple XML HTTP request. And again, we just have a bunch of parameters that we have to pass. But for now, we just have to pass a uh, simple endpoint from which where we want to have the data to come from. So basically, instead of this whole function, that why I have created this particular variable, so I don't have to like link this particular whole string to this function. So I want to make my function as clear as possible. So I would be just referencing the the whole API endpoint to this variable item API. So I would be entering this. So what it do is it takes some time. In response, it fetched all the data and it would be displayed. But again, I have stated like when we are hitting a API or when we want to fetch the data, when we request something from the server, so it takes some time as the server requests that particular request, perform some operation and then return the data. At this instance of time, when we just hit response and I click on save and hit refresh, hit click me, so it returned me a promise. So what the promise mean is, and the promise status is pending. So what it mean is, uh, the response is have a promise class. So fetch basically returned a promise mean, still we don't know whether the our promise or the server has thrown us a response or not, since we have just sent a request but we does not get a response till now. So for now, we will be using this new async await concept. So I would be typing just async to get back the data, and now I would be writing await. So what it do is, so at initial instance of time, so it has it just have created a request to the server, and it has not fulfilled that. and at that point of time it has not waited for the server to get the details. So basically it has passed that particular response to this, and we have got a promise. But I want, like, till the server uh, reaches to that particular uh, till the server just give back a particular response or the data. So at that point of time, only the next code should be executed. Before that, it should not be executed. So this should work in the perfectly right manner that we want to see. So basically what I do is I would be just writing, making this function asynchronous function, like uh, the next functionality or the next function should not be run unless until the first request should be fulfilled, like the response should become. So this is a basic concept of promises, like this promise must be fulfilled in order to get the response, else it will throw some error. So basically I would be writing await. So this line would be waiting till a response come back from the server, and then execute the rest of the code. Now when I hit save and hit refresh and then click on this button, so what I got is this particular response. So this response is what our uh, server sent back to us. But this is the not the particular response that we are looking for. So what we are looking for is when I go to this particular endpoint, so I got object in the form of that contain a key product that have an array of products. So what here we are missing? So now we are missing. So this fetch function do have another uh, this fetch function do have another function to call. So basically we want to get the data. So what we will do is we will be writing response dot json. So this json throw, this json denote this particular whole object that we are that the data is visible over there, and again that response is being stored in the data, and when we just print the whole bunch of data over there, so at this point of time we would be getting object. But for now also we won't be getting an object, as this json function also return a promise. So again, when I was talking about this fetch function, so fetch function do throw a promise when I, so what to resolve that, so I have written this await function. Again this json function do throw a promise. So if you want to test it out, so just click on refresh, click on this. So again we got a promise. So for resolving this type of error, this is not basically an error, but it's a simple notation that we have not waited from the previous function to be executed. So I would be just typing it as await. So hitting refresh, when I click me, so at this point of time I've successfully got all the object that contain a key product that have an array containing a bunch of product. So now how I can use this data coming from the server and execute it in my HTML document. So it definitely contain this uh, b- object. So again, getting back to our concept of how object and array work. So now, if I want to display this whole bunch of information to the screen, so what I would be writing it as, I would be declaring a simple paragraph denoting by a simple ID of response. And now going back to the main JS, I would be creating a new instance like paragraph response, and I would be referencing this particular variable to the paragraph that I have created. So denoting by I have created a paragraph with an ID of response. So basically, what I will be taking this, I would be taking this response, and I would be simply writing paragraph dot response. paragraph response dot inner HTML, and I would be setting it to data. Again, when I refresh the page, when I click on uh, this button, particular button, so we can see an object. So what does it mean is, so basically this is how an object is visible and object is converted to a string when we are basically displaying it. So what I can do is I can basically convert this particular object to a string. So how I can do is by using a simple function. I would be removing this. So I would be writing JSON denoting this particular JSON that we have dot stringify. Stringify just convert the particular JSON or the object that's being returned, and it convert into a string. So I would be passing simple data, hit clicking save, hitting refresh, and when I click on hit me, so at this point of time, I've got the whole uh, information that is being returned from the server. But again, like this is not how I am looking at. Like user does not want a bunch of line being appeared over the screen. So they does not understand how these things would be looking like. So we have to basically simplify all the stuff that are coming from the server. So at this point of time, what I will do is I would be creating a simple table. So table is much more cleaner as well as uh, user friendly, how the data would be displaying. So again, uh, coming back to the module 2, as you can remember, so we have this tr tag, we have this cd to represent the table data within a particular row. So row represent the uh, horizontal data term representing a common type, the data type representing to a common entity, and we have a bunch of rows over within a particular table. So we have the name and what kind of data do we have. So going back to the product, so we have a product array. So we have address, id, name, price, rating. So we can have name, id, so we can have price, we can have rating. Yeah, so we can also display any of the values. So we have this 4 value over here. And now what I will do is, so I would be giving an ID of response, and then going back to the main.js, and then instead of this paragraph, so the variable should also be looking like term specific. So what I have used, so I would be denoting the variable name to that, and again I would be copying that, and again, so again at this point of time, so I have to some type of uh, if I want to create a particular data over it, so what it would be looking like is like it should have a tr tag representing a table row that again have the td tag that contain the name. So the initial one would be name, again have the 4 values, again id1 like price of 10, and again rating of 5. So like I am not a product, so I would be writing pen instead of my name. Yeah, so I don't have a price. So going back to this, so this is a simple table that we would be looking upon. So I would be denoting and calling it by a simple table class, and getting back to the main.css file, I would be writing basically denoting the table tag that is available within this table class. So I would be giving a border of 1 pixel solid and of black. Cool, perfect. So basically we have successfully created this table, and now we can also give some margin to it. We can give margin to the table. So we can give margin top of 10 pixel to have a simple separation between these two button as well as this table. So till this point of time, we have successfully displayed that particular. We have a pen with an ID 1, we have a price of 10 bucks, and then we have a rating 5. So now By clicking on this, so we have, so you can see that when I have clicked on this click me, so this particular uh, this whole table has been replaced to this particular JSON object. So why it is like that? So we have denoted this table response.inner HTML is equal to this data. Basically, we have to append the data, not we have to just replace all the data that is being available in the table. So what I will do is I would be writing plus. Plus mean we will be appending all the data that is coming from the backend to this table response. So when I click on again save, and when I click on save me, so again we have this particular table already available, and again we can see this whole bunch of information. But now I would be having the bit like styling over it. So this is now user would be going to see, and now I would be having again a new function. So what that function do is, for example, like beautifier. Like I have given a new name beautifier. So what it will return is, so again we have a simple object over here. So what that object should contain. So basically we would be referencing to this object. So we are taking into consideration about the name, ID, and price and rating. So I would be writing this name. So we have a pen, we have an ID of 1, we have another price of 10, and we have rating of 5. Okay, so what this function do is basically it add a markup, or it add a particular tag. So I would be creating a new constant with the name of HTML markup. So what this will do is it will uh, basically return a simple HTML tag. So again, JS does not understand how HTML would look like. So that's why I have represented and bounded it between these two inverted commas. So rather it should be, if we are using multi-line, so rather than inverted comma, so I can use backticks. So backtick generally denotes the template literals that we are using in ES6. So this is a new concept of JavaScript. So how we can display a particular string. So we can have uh, the particular tr tag. So I want to append all the data that is coming from the server and want to display within the table. So what I want to display is this stuff. So separating it from the whole table. So this would be a response. So I've separated this stuff. So I just want this particular tag to be displayed over here. So I would be just copying and pasting this whole document, and again having a, so what this function do is it would return this particular HTML markup that we have created over here. Okay, so we till now have created a particular function, so that would intake this object and convert it to a particular markup and would return it. So now for this is for only for testing. So basically I would be referencing this. So we have template literals. If I've used this backtick, so this is not a single inverted comma. So single inverted comma look like this. So backtick is just uh, at the left side of the numerical 1. So basically above the tab key. So just by clicking on that, so backtick would be appeared. So I have written this. So the backtick is again as same as we are dealing with the double inverted comma or single inverted comma. Just we have a quality writing over it. So we can declare us any of the string in multi lines. So we have this advantage from the double inverted comma that we are using. So basically I have written this particular data simple. I have created a simple document over here, and I want to replace this from the object that we are getting from. So now what I will do is, so what extra advantage this backtick provide us to is, when I just click a dollar sign proceeding with the curly braces. So now I can write any JS JavaScript syntax within this two curly braces. So now what I want to do is I want to have the name. So I would be just writing object dot name. So instead of writing a name explicitly, so what it do is it have taken a reference from this particular variable that we have declared. So again, it has passed to the string that we have used. So again, copying this particular instance, so I would be writing starting by the dollar sign. So the initial instance should be, it must be in backtick format. So it must be enclosed within the backtick. We cannot use uh, by the double inverted or the single inverted commas. So again, we can declare a variable, or we can use GS syntax by this dollar sign enclosed with the code should enclose between these curly braces. Again, the object should have, the next is the ID. Again, we have the price, object dot price, and then at last we have the rating. So now I want to call this beautifier function. So this is a simple term that we will be using. So I would be passing this function over here, and I would be just appending this to the table response. When I click on save and just hit refresh, so what the click me function do is it will just basically request, it will take the response and will be capturing that, and after we get the response, so we can see a simple object or simple new data entry over the this table, but it would be displaying this single object that we have created over here. So by clicking on this, okay, rating is not defined and at line number. Okay, so basically we have to write it as object dot rating. So again, we have to reference to the object. Again, when I click on this click me, so basically a new entry has been created. Now we have successfully passed our first instance. So now what we want to do is, uh, initially we have taken a reference to this common object that we are using for now. So yeah, so we have successfully integrated our API. We have used the API, and yeah, so coming back to it, so we have a bunch of developer tools that we can use while integrating and having a proper communication between the client and the server. So we initially we have the console tab as being displayed over here. So basically, if the request failed, so again an error message would pop up over this. So for example, if I would be writing the wrong request URL over here, so for example, HTTPS abcd.com. So when I, this is a particular endpoint, that API point that I am requesting from. So when I hit refresh, so when I click on click me, so it throws me a response. So this is the first developer tool that we are mainly using while we are integrating all the APIs and stuff. So again, so all the error that are coming up, so that would be displayed over the screen. But if we want to get any error, so what we will be doing is having an simple exception handling. So again, that would be covered in the next session, next module. So again, we have the try, catch uh, statements and other statement to get rid of these type of error, so that our code get on executed. So at this point of time, our code just stop where it is being, and our next entry have not been entered. But if this error does not come, so our entry will be visible over the screen. So how to get rid of this, so that would be covered in the next module. So coming back to our next developer tool, that is the network tab. So this is again the main tag that we will be using. So what type of element that is being returned from the server? So that is again being available over the screen. So if you go to this network tab, so it have a numerous amount of things that you can see over the screen, but don't be afraid of this. This is to, if I simplified this whole stuff. So what it tell is all represent all type of data, files, images, or any type of document that we are that is being sent from the server to our browser. So basically, browser download all the files to your local system, and then that is being displayed over the screen. So this is how browser just basically display everything. So what it does is when you go on all, so basically it have three type of document. So basically the first one is the HTML document that contain our code. So basically our the browser when I go to this URL, so the browser requested the HTML document along with, as we have linked two files along with it. So basically the next one is the CSS and the third one is the GS file, and that again contain what type of requests have been sent. So it have been sent a file protocol. File protocol is basically a local protocol that is being used. HTTP is over the internet. We have a bunch of protocol also. So basically it has used file protocol, and where the files are present, so that are present. So you can compare this to an endpoint. So file protocol basically take argument as the endpoint, and again that return the main HTML file, and again we have linked the main HTML file, the CSS and JS file to it. So basically the next request is this is the main request URL. So again the browser requested this URL, and CSS file is what we get in response. So header contain all the information of what type of request and what that request contain, all the data, and response contain what we get from the server. And in the preview tab, again the same, we can beautify all the stuff, and we have a bunch of option over here, and you can basically like where it has been initiated, all the requests, where it has been sent, and what was the timing, how much time it has been taken, where when it was started. Again, as you can see above this tab, so this is how our request would be looking like. So if you can also check that when our HTML file and the JS file have been taken care of, when our CSS file have been taken care of. So basically we can see each and every step over here, at which instance of point we can our data is being available. So this is basically the whole timeline, and again we have the headers containing all the request, type of request, and the data that the request have been contained. And again this is fetch XHR. So this is the main XHR stand for XML HTTP request. So this is the main tab that we are using. So basically when I click on click me, so it has sent an XHR request. How much time have it been taken? So basically, if I refresh this page and again go back to the network tab, and yeah, in the item dot, it have been sent a request of URL as well as endpoint as this that we have defined. It was a of get method. So basically we have a bunch of method available. So we have get, post, put, and delete. So these are the four common method that we will be using. Get method used for retrieval of the data. Post method is transferring the data from client to server, like transformation of the data, basically the term itself. But and again the update method is used for updating something, or update is also used as a put method. So basically a put method is used for like transferring the data, or updating the data at the server, and the delete method is used to delete any of the data from the server. So basically these are the four methods. We can obviously use these four methods uh, comparing from one another, we can use get as post method, we can use post as get method. We have bunch of stuff, but again the data transfer is again being changed. So post method is bit secured than get method. So then what is the status code? Status code basically whether the request is successful or not. So basically 200 means successful. So we have a bunch of status code like the most common one is 404. So basically representing not found when any of the stuff is not found from the server. And again we have a 500 denoting to an internal server error when the server goes wrong. So at the time of YouTube, when the YouTube was not working at prior some months, so basically that was 500 error. So their server was not responding well. So basically there was some authentication issue going back, and what type of data and headers it have been taken. So you can neglect these type of stuff. So basically these headers are meant for authentication as well as cross-site scriptings. So what type of data that we get in response is a simple textual or the JSON data, and how we can see it. It in the preview tab, it basically visualize or beautify all the stuff that are visible over there. So we can display it, and again the initiator as well as the timing, how much time it have been taken to like the duration of the API of the queue, and again all the duration that have been taken into consideration and how much time the request have been taken from client to server, and after processing then returning back to the client. So again this is a simple developer tool, and the most important is the Postman. So Postman is a bit new concept, not for testing for the APIs. So we have a bunch of methods over here. So these are the common method: get, post, put, and delete. And we have a bunch of other methods too to be utilized when we are using or playing with APIs. So we will be neglecting all these methods, but we will be focusing on these four methods: get, post, put, and delete. And here is, so basically you can download the Postman from the Google Chrome or the Postman official website. So how we can test our APIs, like before integrating the API, APIs are tested, like whether the APIs is working properly, what type of response it is being like giving. So basically I would be copying this endpoint and pasting it in enter request URL. So if I, yeah, so if I just click on this enter request URL input and paste the URL over here, and when I click on send, so basically a simple get request have been sent for the data retrieval. And what type of data have been uh, given by the server is this product data containing the whole object that is being over here, along with an object containing array and again object. So again, I can also retrieve simple google.com from here. So what it return is a standard HTML document. So if I go to the preview, so basically I can preview the page, how the code, how the page would be looking like. So basically, what is a backend? So we have basically studied around what is a front end, like everything that is that a user visualize and they can see. So that all come under front end part, and now the backend part all include the data accessibility. So how data can be accessed as well as displayed upon the screen, and how which type of function is being performed. So that all being done by a backend. So basically, a backend is a data access layer. So data access layer means that comprises of all the data. Again, have all the operations, functions, and all the part that it receive all the data from the front end through a request. So basically, the structure that we have explained earlier in the previous modules, like the request response system. So backend handles all the requests coming from and then process it, and after that gives the data back, send the data back to the main front end part where the user can display it. So basically, backend handle all the requests that are coming to it. And again, why we need a backend. So basically to hide our all data, or that to provide some a sense of security from the outside world. If a user just ping a particular front end, they should not be display all data around that we have. That definitely will be having some privacy issues. So to prevent all this, so we have a backend to handle all that, so that our data should be secured. And the backend is the main part of our computer communication system that will be having, again, that comprises of 80% of all the data that all the modules and the bundle that we make, as well as the front end part that we are seeing, is just only the 20% of the whole project. So basically that again vary from project to project. If we are more focused on the front end type of project, or we are having a UI major perspective project, so basically the front end would be more. But in most of the cases, so basically we have a minimalistic UI front ends, as well as we have a bunch of and a whole huge modules of backend at our servers. So again, how we can connect our front end and the back end is through APIs. So API are the one or the medium through which front end and the back end communicate with each other. So that's why we have initially made the session for the API in module 4, and then we have proceeded with the backend, so that we would be easily communicating with the backend through front end, along with like using APIs. So again, API stand for Application Programming Interface, used to connect front end and the back end. So in this module, so we will be creating servers, and how we will be handling requests coming from an API from the front end, and again how we will be generating some response and getting back to the front end itself. So now coming towards we are currently, this module is more focused on web technologies. So basically web technology mainly comprises of JavaScript. So JavaScript is the base language through which we can do a full stack development, and we can become a full stack developer. So basically they have some type of some stacks through which we can develop in full stack. So basically there are mon stack as well as mean stack. Initially, let understand the term what full stack mean. Full stack is nothing but we can create a backend as well as front end. Along with, we if a developer know how to deploy the application, where to deploy, and how to generate request response system, along with minimalistic UI through which user can display the data and all the operations, so that application can be made that can be visible to the user, that is capable to handle all the data and operations. So that's basically a full stack development, and a person that comprises of all this skill set, that have all the skill set and expertise. So basically that person is known as full stack developer. But now the term monstack and meanstack mean, as I stated, monstack mean MongoDB using the monstack is basically comprises of which tech stack, basically technology stack that we use to create an application, full stack application, like that comprises of front end as well as back end. So we have a MongoDB, that's a database. Again, we can have a different set of database like MySQL or Redis or something. So this is MongoDB using Express.js. Express is a framework, again using React.js as a front end library, along with Node.js as a backend language, or the server-sided language. And again, for the mean stack, it's nothing but we just replace the front-end technology to AngularJS. So basically, learning about what is the difference between library and a framework. So library is loosely comprises of all the functions. So basically, we have a set of functions earlier defined, and we just call that function, and we can call these function anywhere in our project. But using a framework has a proper defined set of rules, so we have to use those particular protocols while working in a framework. So basically, uh, y- Also, like a framework comprises of all the component that is required to create an application, and the library is a single instance that just solve a particular problem. For example, in the form of React, so basically we have a component mode of system. So basically we create component for a particular like button and something. So for linking to other document, for like having a router something, so we have to create another set of we have to download another set of library to work in the in monstack environment. But in meanstack, so basically Angular is a whole set of framework. So we have all the function that are required to make the front end application. So this is a basic difference between how monstack and meanstack can be differ from each other. And also these tech stack that we are using is based on JavaScript, totally based on JavaScript. So if you know JavaScript, so you can do a full stack, you can make a full stack application by using these stacks. So again, you should have a prior knowledge of these technologies. And yeah, so coming back to the next slide. So basically, we would be more focusing towards Node.js. So we have this module dedicated towards the backend side. So we will be having the initial. So basically, we have done JavaScript till now, and we know how we write the JavaScript syntax, as well as we how to perform some basic operations in JavaScript. And now, this is a Node.js is a clever technology, like how we can use JavaScript outside the browser. So basically, it Chrome has the V8 engine. So basically, developer has just picked that V8 engine and make it in a module and written in C++. So basically, we can through this Node.js environment. So basically, we can run our JavaScript code in our servers, or for example, in our local PC without being in a browser. So that's how Node.js is so powerful. And again, that is compared to other languages, for example, uh, C++, Java, and Go, and many more. So basically, what is the speciality of Node.js? So why we will be using Node.js, and why it is so much popular nowadays? So again, we have the same language is being used on the front end. So if you have the prior knowledge of front end and you have worked with JavaScript, so you can easily navigate to the Node.js and also start working with the backend stuff. So that's why if a developer is familiar with UI technology, web technology, so definitely they can switch from one technology to another. So that's why Node.js is being constantly increasing its popularity. So again, it's a cross platform. So it is available on Windows, Linux, Mac, and every platform that we have. And again, it's open source. We can definitely contribute to the code base, and also we can change the code as per we want. And again, this is the same, the JavaScript, running JavaScript outside the browser and run on V8 engine. So basically, now coming toward the package managers. So this is a main concept. So what a package manager is nothing but, as the term suggests, so a package manager just manages packages. So a package comprises of libraries that can be like solving for solving a particular problem. If like if we I want to route from one place to another, so I have a library. If I want to component type of system, so I have another library, for example React. And again, for requesting from a API, so I have different bunch of library like Axios or something. So basically, package manager is nothing but that manages all the package and bundle them together in a single platform.
Yeah.
So in each and every language, so we have different package managers. For example, in Python we have pip, and again in Node.js we have npm. Npm is nothing but the node package manager, and Python have pip. So basically they have a particular platform through which they handle all the packages. So we have a version kind of system through which they all the packages have version, and we can download that particular version from the database. And again, for PHP we have composer, and again we have a bunch of package manager for each and every language
Yeah,
through
and
which
just
we
to
can
give
reach.
context about that, for example, if you have come up with C++, you might be familiarized with, header files. So the context is that each and every language that we have, it can only have just limited amount of things that you will, use when you just use it from scratch. Otherwise, if you expect like these pre-built functions to be there included with the language, it will make the size of the package of that file very large. So these languages, for example, within Java, you have packages that you can install, right? And again, for specific purposes like mathematical functions, like in Python, we have like dedicated packages for like showing graphs. So that's what is the main essence of all of these packages. Now these come in different forms for every language. For example, for Rust, we have cargo, right? We have so basically these are different ways in which you can add external additional functionality to your programming language by installing these relevant packages.
So basically, coming toward the next slide. So, like, we would be having some knowledge around what is a database, how we will be using that, and why we use database. So basically, database is nothing but a platform over which we store our data. So basically, database, if you go on the base scale or the foundation, so database is nothing but a simple file storages. So we create a simple file or module and over which we store our data. So that's nothing but a database. But again, having specific functions through which we can get the database and perform that special operation like get, post, put, delete, and many more. So that comes under the database operation, and that comprises of the whole database. So a database have like it stores the data, and along with we can perform some specific operation in minimum amount of time span in order to get our data back. After, if I want to get a particular name from the database, so basically we can fetch the name from the database, and that would be provided us with a list or something. And if we have a particular ID, so we can get a single instance from the database. And again, the database comprises of uh, that have two type of database that we use generally. So basically having a SQL as well as NoSQL. So basically, the common difference between SQL and NoSQL is basically SQL is a structured query language and NoSQL is no structured query language. So in SQL, we have to write a particular language in order to execute the database data, and again to extract the data from the database. But in NoSQL, we have a set of functions in order to get our data or perform some special operations. And again, like talking generally in the computer architecture, so basically SQL is more towards uh, like scaling it, like if the data is increased in the SQL server, so basically the load on the RAM as well as the storage increases. But in NoSQL database, basically we have the concept of sharding. So in sharding we have we just create a new server to store the same instance of data, and that data is again linked with each other through a common ID. So basically we have a vertical scaling in SQL as well as we have the horizontal scaling in NoSQL. And again, so the term that we will be focusing on is the MongoDB, the database that is most popular nowadays for having performing operations on the data and storing it using some special functions that they have. And again, we would be more revolving around the MongoDB as well as the Node.js. So how we will be connecting Node.js server to the MongoDB, and again how we can fetch the data from the MongoDB and again transfer back to the server. Oh, the front end side. So currently we have completed 4 modules, and now we would be proceeding with our next module, module 5. So quickly I will be creating a new folder with the name module 5. And now, yeah. So like I am changing my main or terminal directory to the module 5 so that I can make all the operations within this particular folder. Or let me open this particular folder. Yeah, cool. So we are in the module 5 folder, and now I will be having, like, I will be creating a simple Node.js file. So JS file with the name of index.js. So basically I will be creating the new server in this index.js file, and we will be executing all the queries as well as the function within this. So if my screen size is a bit low, or is it correct, please have a response. And yeah, so let me increase the size by 1.
Yeah, I think it should be
And
fine.
great. So I would be opening a terminal. So we will be mostly revolving around with the terminal as well as the initial code base. As we are working with the backend stuff, so we should be familiar with the basic terminal command as well as how we will be working within this particular module. So basically, in order to open a terminal, so what you will do is just uh, go to this terminal tab and the upper title bar, and again you can click on this new terminal to open it, or you can just press Control backtick on uh, Windows as well as Control backtick on Mac. Again, yeah. So let me check the directory. So we have successfully created a simple index.js file. So again, how we can run the JavaScript within our PC. So basically before that, so you have to install Node. So basically where you can find that is simple Node.js on the official website. So basically click on this download link and just uh, preferably you should download the LTS version. LTS stand for the simple latest stable version. And again, just download for either Mac, Windows, or Linux, and just download from that, and again get back to our terminal. So what you will find is, just if you write node hyphen hyphen version, so that you will be given the latest version that is being installed in your PC. And again, along with this node that you have installed, so basically there is a package manager that is automatically being downloaded to your local PC. So that's nothing but the npm. So you can also check the version for the npm. So basically that's 6.14.11, and again for the node it's 14.616.0. So yeah, now getting back to the index.js file. So how I can execute JavaScript code in the local terminal? So with the help of Node only. So having simple commands like console.log for printing a particular statement. So this is a basic command that in every language, so printing a particular statement over the console. So basically how I can execute is, just you have to type the node, that is the node run environment, JavaScript environment, and again followed by a space along with the file name. Along you have to give the whole directory, or if you are already in the current directory. So I have already index.js in this current directory, so I would be writing node space index.js, having the total whole file name executed. So basically that calls hello world on the console. So yeah, but If you do remember, so we have another function alert in our front end, but in this alert method, so basically uh, alert is a function of window object. So window is nothing but all the function that comprises of a browser. So basically alert gives us a pop-up uh, in that browser, but we does not have the DOM within the Node.js. So basically we don't have this particular function alert in this. If we try to run this function in this, so basically it give us an error like alert is not defined. So basically, alert is meant for browsers only. So we cannot execute DOM objects here. DOM means document object model again, and that's only meant for the browser sided. So we cannot use window object like this. So again, getting back toward the main. So we have the Express server over here. So the term that we have just learned about, let me increase screen size by one more. So again, we have now learned about the term MERN stack. So MERN again mean the MongoDB. So we would be focusing on MongoDB, Express.js, then we have React.js and Node.js. So, like neglecting this React.js, so we would be focusing on these three technologies like Node.js, Express.js, as well as MongoDB. So basically, the main JavaScript file that is being written, so that would be compiled within the Node.js environment, and we should know how Node.js works. That's the simple. Uh, if you have the foundation of JavaScript, so basically you know Node.js. And again, Express.js is nothing but having special. Express.js is a whole framework through which we design our API system, as well as having a request response system set up within our Node.js server. And again, we would be focusing toward NoSQL database, that's MongoDB, and we would be connecting the front backend server sided to our database, and then we would be having some data transmission from here to there. So basically, initially I would be creating a simple Express server. So how I can create it? So basically, you will be using now the npm module or npm package manager. So how? So basically, I would be deleting this. So getting back to this. Yeah. So initially, Node.js do not have any library or framework pre-installed. They do have some particular functions that is already available in the Node.js environment. But as I've stated, like Express is a framework. So basically, I have to download a framework code from somewhere. So basically, that why npm comes in place. So I would be writing this npm install Express. Express stand for Express.js, and again creating API request response system. So we'll be focusing toward that. And again, when I will be having in npm install, so I have written npm I express. So that means npm we are setting npm node package manager to install this particular library given with library name. So you can just go to npm and you can just click on the first link. So you can find thousand and lakhs of packages already pre-installed, and you can download this from this npm package manager. So basically, I would be writing Express and again going to the first response that is there. So npm install Express. So that's nothing but used for creating simple server. And again, so I would be in so priorly for installing. So I would be just writing npm init. So what it do is uh, take a look over the explorer side on the left hand side. So when I just initiate like this command like npm init, so what it do is it asks for particular references like what should be the package name, what should be the command, and again just by clicking on enter, so basically it have some particular function going on, and again that creates a new file package.json. So this package.json is the main file through which all the information as well as command can be executed within the server. So we have the package.json file that is being generated from npm init command written in the terminal. So what we have is we have this name. So we have the name of the module that we have. Like it can be changed to any of the name. Like I would be writing express server or like scalar express server. And again, the package name should be in lowercase, so scalar express server. So this name indicates the name that is there. I can also create my own library, and again if I want to upload my code to this npm, so this is the main name that everyone can see. So basically if anyone want to install a new library, so they just have to write npm install then this name scalar express server. So by just hitting enter, so they can download. After I deploy my code to the main npm servers. So basically next is the version. So we have a version kind of system over here. So if you see in this, so the current version for the express is 4.17.2. so basically for this particular package that we are making, so its initial version is 1.0.0, and again that can be incremented by 1. And that should be manually incremented if we update any code base and deploy it to server. So basically writing description what this library do or this code base do. And again this is the main where this index.js is a main file to execute. And again we have bunch of scripts over here. So I would be getting back to this. So we have the author along with we have the license. So author, you can write your name to define who has made this particular contribution and made this library. And again for license, which type of license have you used? So we have MIT ISC license and bunch of more license. So through which we can declare this particular module to our npm. And again, now coming back to this script, uh, so basically if you see over here, so we have this json is nothing but that we have studied earlier in the previous module. So how we just create uh, a json from simple objects. So basically if you see over here, so we have this an object, so we have a key as well as we have a value over here. And again that denotes but the only difference between the simple js object and the json is the key is again here bounded by these double inverted commas. So again now coming back to the script, so this script is nothing but for easily handling our servers. So basically I don't want to type each and every time when I run this index.js server. So I have to write like node index.js and hit enter. So it would be executing the main all the function that is contained within this index.js file. But I don't want to like separately type index.js again and again. Instead of that, I would be sharing a particular script. So what I do is, so I just create a new script, name as start. So this, whenever I call this command start, so the server should be or index.js file should be automatically run within the Node.js environment. So what I will do is instead of writing node space index.js within the terminal, I will be writing this within this start command. So I have written node space index.js. So this is the main terminal command that would be executing. And how I can use this start command is again going back to the terminal and again writing instead of node index.js, this time I would be using this package manager npm. So I would be writing npm space. I would be just simply copy and pasting this start command. So I would be writing npm start. So that would be executing this command. So just by hitting enter. So again, it has initiated a particular server. Node has defined like what is the name of the what is the name of the package that we are using. Again, taken from this particular name, Scalar Express server, and again at the rate sign denoting the particular version. So basically, we have the version 1.0.0, and again, what we have run is a start script, and where the module has been taken, the whole folder name, and again, which command we have run. So we have run node index.js. Again, that would npm comprises of all this structure as well as all the data that is being contained within the package.json file. So instead of again and again writing node index.js, node index.js, I would be just writing npm start. And again, this is a common terminology where I have just defined the file name as index.js. It can be termed as big as uh, any file name like MongoDB Express server.js or something. So again, if the file name changes in this particular module, so I don't have to use that particular file name, and I don't have to remember that particular file name and type that within the terminal to execute that file. Instead, I would be just copy and pasting that file name within this start command, and I just have to remember a single command npm start to initiate the server or initiate this index.js file or this any intended file that is being written within this start command. And again, that can have our various steps of command, and we can also use our customized command, and we can execute that uh, through npm. Again, getting back to index.js, so I would be initiating with installing the express. So npm install, I stand for install, or I can write install again uh, express. Again, when I hit enter, so it would be downloading all the code base. And now let's get back to the Explorer. So two new files have been created over here. So again, if you see over here, so we instead of these two files that already been created, index.js and package.json, again I have just created a single file, index.js, and I have written a command npm init to initialize this package.json. So this package.json file has automatically been created by npm init command. And again, when I install these two modules like npm install express, so I have just installed a single library module. So that have created two new files. So initially the node modules. So this is the main dependency, all the module as well as all the code base and the library that we have installed within our server. So that is contained within the node underscore modules folder. So if you delete this folder, so all the dependency as well as all the library or framework that you have downloaded would be removed. So all the code base is contained within this node module folder, and again this package.json package log.json contain uh, rather all the information along with the library and the previous library that we have used within this. And for now, you can neglect this particular package log.json file. Instead of focus on package.json, so you would be working with the package.json file for initiating your project. So if you see over here, so we do not have this dependency key before prior of installing. So this dependency contain the all the library that is being installed within this node module folder and along with this particular version name. So we have the library name express along with the version name 4.17.2. So the package JSON automatically gets updated when we install the new library. And again, now coming back to our index.js, so creating a simple express server. So I would be just turning off this explorer. So again, just for test, so I would be writing npm start, so it should show nothing. Cool. So nothing is shown. And again, this two line would be shown at every instance when we hit npm start. That denotes again the configuration that we have already done within package JSON. Now we would be creating a simple express server. So for that, so I would be declaring a simple variable name as express. So for this, I have to import that particular library that is installed via npm install express. So I have to import the library within this index.js file. So how can I import that is by using a require keyword. So we have a function name as require. So require, what it do is it basically take a particular module. If I want to have express, so basically express is pre-installed within the node module. So what it has done is I have just written the npm package name, and require function has automatically taken into consideration that I have to go in the node module folder and take I have to search for this express library. So here so it will be executing all the express code, and that would be imported within this particular file. So again, if you have studied in Java as well as C++, so we have some import commands or define commands. So to basically to import other library components within or importing other modules in that file. So we have uh, just imported this express code base into our index.js file. So again, I would be executing this by creating a instance. So basically express, you can denote it as a simple function, or you can uh, refer it to as an object. So I would be creating a new application with the help of express. So by for that I have to call this express function. So what it has done is it has created a new instance of express. So basically, if, again getting back toward the basics, so you can compare this express variable to a class. So basically, class is a whole bunch of a whole bunch of data methods and properties. So we have made a particular object or instance from that class and imported all the functionality that the express function contain within this particular app variable. So this app would be executing all the server, as well as that would be handling all the requests coming from the server. And again, if we go back to the Chrome, if you don't remember how to initialize a particular server, so again, going back to the npm gs.com slash packages along with that package name. So we definitely have the boilerplate code that is again available within this particular module. So either you can copy or paste that instance from the server, or from npm.js website, or you can create your own. So basically creating your own gives you an idea how things work in real life. And again, you will be knowing how what that particular function do in order to get all the things done. So that we should not be having an iterative or non-used code already written within our main servers. So that would obviously increase our server size. We try to minimize the size as well as the time complexity in like having some performance on our data. And now for this, so I would be initializing my server by just writing app dot listen, and over listen, so I would be defining a particular port. So if you have worked with any of the servers, so basically, or simple uh, local PC server. So basically what we have is, or like I can give you an example of live server. So basically we have this particular port ready, or particular domain ready, like 127.0.0.1, denoting this particular current local PC creating this into a server. And again, uh, this particular IP address denotes to this local PC, and again in this local PC, so we have a bunch of applications running at the background. So how those applications are separated from each other so that the data is not being shared among those applications. So that is done by the port system. So this port basically separate all the. So basically, the port can be from 0 to 65,500 something. So basically, we can define any of the port from in that range. But this port basically separate each and every application from each other. And again, this particular IP address denote this local PC. And again, if you think of a bigger level, so basically, this have been replaced by the domains. So that we write https google.com, that denotes a particular IP address, uh, that denotes to a IP address that can be 192.168 point something, that can be any address along with the port number. Again, every server has their own configuration. We can configure all the server according to our needs. And again, we are creating a server over here that would be listened over a 3000 port. So basically, instead of 3000, so for an example, so I can go to any of the port like 4400. If you want to start your server at this particular instance, so how can we test is like just by writing npm start. So what it do is it simply start a server, but starting a server, it does not give us anything. So basically at this point of time, so it is listening for a request that is coming towards it. So if I type 127.0.0.1 a colon basically separate the IP address with the port colon. So I would be just copy and pasting it at there. So entering that, so it gives me error like cannot get, as we have not defined this particular endpoint where it should go. I would be defining all that in this, but at this point of time, uh, if you just like close the server by pressing Control C. So Control C basically kill the server that have been started, and if you hit refresh over here, so you can see this site cannot be reached. And again, starting again the server and hitting refresh. So again, you will be seeing this cannot get slash. So slash means nothing but simply we are using a slash after this port number. So when I hit enter, so basically it go to this particular string or endpoint. So prior to that, so basically if you are using Express server, so that's why you are able to view this particular string visible over the screen. But if you are not using the Express server, or if you are creating the simple server with the HTTP module, so internally, Express also uses a HTTP module for defining all the stuff. But if you are using a simple or other services, so basically the page can be different from each other, or you have to handle your at your own. So basically, that's why Express gives us a sense of complex simplicity in term of error handling as well as displaying of stuff. And again, how can I get a response within this particular URL? If, for example, if you go to google.com, again, go to this three dots and more tools, and then click on developer tools. And I have stated a thing over here. I just go to the network tab. So I can increase the size of the network tab. Now, if I hit refresh, so basically, in the alt tab, so when I hit refresh, so the first file that is being executed is www.google.com. So when we have requested this particular URL, so what it has given us is a particular response of the whole HTML document. So the first step of a server is returning something to the user so that they should not they cannot see this particular any of the stuff that are basically having doing operation at the backend. So basically to use this, so I would be writing just app dot get. So again, this get, if you do remember the term when we have used Postman, so we have a bunch of method over there like get, put, post, delete. So this is where we are using our simple get request. So basically, when you are at google.com at the browser, so anything you type within the URL bar, so that is what a get request means. A get request is visible to everyone, and again a response is publicly available, and that can be again restricted by some means. And but for at generally all the request that is being given from the browser, that's the get request, and that's why we are using a get function over here. We are just declared a simple variable that that have taken an instance of the express server, and again we are simply creating a simple get request so that anyone, if they just view this particular URL, so they should see something, at least some hello world or type of thing. So for that, what I would be doing is, so it have a simple get request, and in our like the express.js Node.js packages. So if you see over here, so we have two arguments that is being given in this function. So get function intake two argument. Again, if you hover over this, so you can see a simple bunch of operations that we can do within this particular get function, and we can pass any number of argument within it. So the first argument that it takes is the endpoint. So basically the endpoint that you see over here. So if I write slash Raghav, so I can make an endpoint of my own. So slash Raghav. So it can throw an error responding like cannot get slash Raghav. So the first argument that the get function take is the endpoint. Basically, this particular string represent uh, us an endpoint. So where the request should be thrown. If so, basically, I would be just typing slash. Slash stand for simply this first screen that you will be seeing. So I want to throw something. So initially, so I would be having a simple callback function. So the first argument is the endpoint or denoting a particular string when I have hit this particular URL or path. So this function should be executed. So that's why I've just written a simple endpoint over here. And again, I would be passing a callback function. So callback function have two arguments in it. So basically request as well as response. Request mean every data that is coming from the front end to us, that is all the data is being contained within the request. Either it will be a body query or something. And the and response mean what we want to send from the server, what type of data that we want to send. So basically, we can handle that with the response keyword over here. So initially, we don't want to request something. Either we just want to respond with a simple HTML file. So what I will be doing is I will be creating a simple HTML file over here, and again, okay, so by mistake my VS Code have been turned down. As I pressed command key over here, so we have a bunch of shortcut keys through which we can perform some operations. So yeah, again it's opened. Cool. So yeah, So I would be just writing leave this error. So I would be just opening the terminal, and again I would be creating a simple HTML document by simply writing HTML, and again I would be writing a simple body in it with a term denoting a simple hello world. Okay, so if I try to run this particular HTML file, so what I will get is a simple hello world written over here with a special uh, URL given over the browser. But I want to return this hello world when we reach this particular URL. So what I'll do is I will send back a response from that server. So how I can do is just by writing response. So this keyword should be same as that of the same keyword that I've written over here. So this keyword can be changed to any of the form. Either you can also write your own name, ABC or XYZ or something Raga. So you can again use this same function, but for relevant keyword. So basically, I have written rest and for response again. This particular uh, function should return something. So again, it return send file, and again by send I would be sending a particular HTML file within it. So for sending file, so I have a bunch of operation that I want to do. So basically I initially have to target the index.html file to this document. So how I can do is that is just by typing creating a new module. So in Node.js environment, so we have a new, oh, we already have a bunch of functions pre-installed. So that's nothing but a path. So you just have to use the path function just by requiring this path. So you just have to write path dot join. So join basically we I want to target that index.html file. So initially I have to track that index.html file where it is present. So I would be writing this uh, dir name. Dir name initially stand for the current directory that the index.js is present. So again, if we go back to the Explorer, the index.js file and the index.html file is already in the same folder. So what I would be writing is nothing but I would be referencing, I would be just typing that index.html file like it is present in this current directory. And again, just by clicking semicolon, oh, and again starting my server and hitting enter. So my server has been started. Again, going back to that. And when I hit refresh, so again it has thrown me a simple HTML document. If you see over here, so a request have been taken to the server. So a request have been sent to this particular URL running on 4400 port. So it has given me a response of an HTML document that is further being displayed over the screen. So this is how simple servers work for requesting a particular file or something. Either instead of HTML document, that can be a CSS, JavaScript document, or that can be a file, image, document, font, or something else. That can be any of the file that is being returned from the server. But for this instance, I want to separate front end from my backend. I don't want to display the front end from the backend. So that's why here when API or simple REST API comes in place. So again, in the previous module, I have explained you about how REST API works and what they contain within their response. So instead of this send file function, so what I would be using is simple JSON function. So this JSON function, in this I can return any object. So object can be as, like I would be creating a simple object denoting name Raghav and email abc.abc@gmail.com. And again, I can return this particular object from this response.json function, and that again being visible on the screen. But now you have to understand a single point. Each time when I just save the index.js file, so I have to restart my server. So basically restarting mean I have updated my code. So this particular file execute within the RAM. So the RAM is being loaded with this index.js function and the file is being executed. But every time you make changes, so you have to delete the initial memory that is already present in the RAM, and you have to reinitialize your whole function with a new one, updated function, and that should be executed within the RAM. So that's why you have to rerun the command npm start in order to execute the new changes. So for example, so initially I have run this command. So when I hit refresh, so it has provided me a JSON. So JSON with simple name and email. Again, that I have been thrown from this response function. But now, if I change my if I change the name to Shivai and I hit refresh, again Raghav is visible over the screen. How? As I'm not restarted my server after doing the changes. The already this object is being created and stored within the RAM. So that would obviously pick from the RAM instead of executing the whole index.js file. So now when I have restarted the server, so when I hit refresh, so it will give Shivai. And again, going to any other URL, so that would again throw a error of like cannot get slash abc. So instead of simply writing slash, so I will be writing just simply slash abc and again restarting my server. When I hit refresh over here, so again at this point of time abc thrown me a particular json file instead of this simple slash. As I have deleted this, I've converted this simple slash to slash abc. So this is whole case sensitive as well as the keywords sensitive. So I have to declare each and every endpoint separately in order to get it through. So basically, if now I have changed this index.js to again back to the simple slash so that our code would be visible over the screen when we hit that particular endpoint with slash. Now, when I started my server, so it should give me that I have started my server or something like that. So how can I do is this app.listen function takes two arguments. Again, the first one is the port at which port it should be running. Again, when I change this port to 4300 and again restart my server. So again when I hit refresh, so it will give this site cannot be reached. But if I change my port number from 4400 to 4300, hit enter. So again my data is visible over the screen. And now, so the first argument is the port. The second argument is again a call web function. So this listen again takes two arguments. First one, initial one is the port number at which port I should be running my server. And again, this port basically separate each application running on the local PC from each other, separate each application. So basically having a call web function. So call web function is when the server starts. So what it should do? So when the server starts, it should log us like server started. At least we should get a response like something is being declared or the server is ready to get the request. So basically that's why we have done a response. So as soon as I hit npm start, so you can see over here. Like the server started, response have been given to us. Like the server has started, and now we can make our own request. Yeah, and now like getting back to the Postman. So you have earlier, earlier also explained about Postman, how it is being used. So basically, at this point of time, it is mainly used for testing APIs. So how our APIs will be working, how it can be visualized, and all of the stuff. So basically, we have a bunch of methods over here. So we can definitely have a get, post, put, delete, and other method. We can directly test from the Postman. But if you go back to the Chrome, and again when you test, uh, just a second, so I have to make this available on my screen. Cool. So if I go back to the Chrome, and if I have changed this get function to post function, now now I will be restarting my server. So server has been started. My endpoint remain the same, that is slash, but I have just changed my method. So when I hit refresh, so the method that the browser intakes is only the get request. Rather, each and every request will be done by either by code or by doing some special operations over it. We cannot have a post or any other method request from this URL bar. Instead, for testing this post API out, so basically what we do is we just change this method from get to post, and I would be pasting this same URL over there. And when I click on send, so basically that return me the data. But if I change again my method to get, so that return me nothing but a simple HTML document stating cannot get slash. Again, the method should be same. So that's why representing each method and differentiating each method from each other. So explaining that get method is an exposed method. Like we can obviously restrict this by at the for the security purposes, but in general, get request is an exposed method. Everyone can see what is there in the get request and the data that is being returned from this request. Post request do have a sense of encryption within it, and again as similar as the put request. Again, why we have a bunch of requests over a bunch of methods over here. So in order, create we cannot get, create, delete, or update a particular data in the through the API through a single endpoint as well as a single method. That's why we need a bunch of method to perform some special operations for separating get, post, put, delete, simple CRUD operations. And again, like simply by creating app.get. So now how I can get a particular variables from the front end to the backend. Like if I want to transfer a data from front end to backend, so what I can do is, so using again the post method. So again, post method contain a particular body element. So body contain all the data parameters that are being given from the server, or from the front end to the server. So just go to the body part and click on the row. So here what we will be defining our own JSON. So I would be creating a simple JSON over here, and I would be having simple uh, name. Again, text can be converted to JSON name, Raghav. Again, so when I click on send, so till now I have not received my particular response from here. But if you check out this request element here, where our request keyword will come in use. So basically I don't want to have this. Instead, I want to check what have been come from the request. So I would be taking body out of it. Body is equal to request dot body. So I would be consoling this, printing that within the console. So I would be restarting my server. When I hit send, okay, object is not defined here. Again, we have to parse that particular JSON operation from this. So till that time, it will be having the result as undefined. And again, but instead of that, we have some special parameter which we can use. So basically, for using this particular JSON, so we have to define the JSON within our own Express module. But before that, so you can test out this parameter function. So instead of getting back to the simple value, so we can write like this particular endpoint along with question mark. Question mark represent all the query parameter that we are sending from the server. So we have the name as well as the value. This is a simple key value pair, and that can be like email ID, email as abc@gmail.com. Again, all each and every key value pair separated by a single ampersand symbol. And again, how can I get this data is simply by corresponding to this query. So again, restarting the whole server. Again, I would be changing the request back to get, and again I would be changing this post to get simple npm start. Now when I just click on hit send, so this is what I get, a whole bunch of object that is being available to us through our server, through our request that is being made from our front end side. So you can compare this, the front end request have been given. So basically Postman is for testing. So you can compare this like a front end have given us a request, and here what we have done, simply we have consoled our the object that is being returned and the data that have been returned from our server. So now I want to store it somewhere. So how can I do is by using a kind of database. So that can be a simple MongoDB database. So again, you have to perform some operation in order to get our MongoDB installed as well as used along with this Node.js application. So for that, I have to restart this VS Code as it is displaying unsupported. So I would be restarting that, and again going back to my module 5. Awesome. So when I hit, okay, let me reinstall it. Yeah, now it should work fine. Great. So yeah, for getting my MongoDB connected to the main file and along with having some basic simple operation to be performed. So what I'll do is simply I would be writing, uh, I would be installing the new module name as Mongoose. So basically, MongoDB is the name of the database, and it has the npm package through which we perform our functions in order to get our data to the database and get it back and have some operations over that database data stored in the MongoDB. So it have the package name named as Mongoose. So I would be installing that Mongoose npm install Mongoose, and again when I hit that, so it would be installing. So till it installed, so I would be having a simple reference to the Mongoose. package. So Mongoose. So Mongoose represent the simple ORM system. So how it can be used? So each and every documentation is already given here. So you can directly use this simple Mongoose document implemented within your server, or you can test it out from here. So basically, getting back to the main code base. So we have successfully installed our Mongoose package in our node modules. And again, if you get back to this package.json file, you can see a new dependency have been installed with the name of Mongoose along with the version. And now, so initially we have to import our Mongoose over here. So instead of uh, creating all the file to be bunched up and contained within this index.js file, so what I will do is I would be creating modules. I would be having a modular type of functions. So what I will do is I would be going back to this explorer and I will be creating a new file named as connect to database.js. Okay, so it will be contains a simple function. So name is connect to database. Again, the file name can be same as that of the function or can be different based on your approach. And again, which this function do is simply connects to the MongoDB database, and I would be writing the code. And initially, I have to export this particular function to so that I can import from this file. So what I can do is like I can write this module dot exports. So what this command do is it automatically by default export this function so that I export this function from this file and we can import it anywhere within our project. And again, module.export, I have to define which module I want to export. So I want to export this particular function. So I can directly go back to this. I can give a reference to, so initially return res dot send file. So in order to have a reference to it, and again, their name along with slash index.html. So let me turn off this. So having a proper reference. So I would be commenting out this for the future references. So if you want to check the code out, you can go to the Scalar Academy GitHub and you can go to the module 5 folder in that. And again, you can check all the source code in future. So I would be uploading this code block to that. And now, so getting back to what it, so I would be importing that particular connect to database module over here. So I would be writing connect is equal to require. Again, the function can be as you want. So require and where the function is being present. So I would be referencing to that file, particular file where the function is being present and where from where it is being imported. So again, I have to give whole path for that particular file which is being used. But if our function or library is already being installed within the Node module, so I don't have to give that specific path. Instead, I can just type that particular module name here. So what I will do is after when my app starts, so I would be calling this particular function over here, and that would uh, that can have me displayed like connected to the database. In to test that, so I would be just writing npm start in order to test the current implementation. Like yeah, successfully connected to the database. So now we will be connecting to the database in real. So I would be just declaring the module that we have currently installed. So I would be requiring that from our node modules. So I have declared that, and now what I will do is I would be just writing mongoose dot connect. So it have a function connect that connects to a particular database that we have. Now it take a simple URI or a simple string where our database is present. Now it is a bit complex part, not much complex, but rather it can be generalized. You just have to go. Either you can create your own URI from the online server, or you can download it locally by just writing Mongo Compass. So just click on the first URL, MongoDB Compass, and again you can download this. So this is basically the GUI part, that is graphic user interface, that provide us an interface to work with MongoDB. So you also have to install simple MongoDB. Install simple by installing your MongoDB. So MongoDB will be installed within your local PC, and you can connection to the database. So we have this particular function in order to connect, and we have to give a particular URL string in order to connect to the Mongo database. So you have to download the MongoDB Compass from here, and it will look like something like this. So it will be initiating, and then from here this is your local string that you will be working in. So basically it have their own protocol. So basically we have bunch of protocol like TCP/IP or simple HTTP, HTTPS protocol, or WSS protocol, as we have discussed earlier. So it have their own protocol named as MongoDB, and again have their own IP address along with the different port number over which that MongoDB server would be running. And we have successfully connected at this time. We have successfully connected to the database, but now we have to define the name of the database. So the name would can be simple scalar. Okay, so as soon as we have done this, and now I don't want to start this command at this particular instance. Instead, again, this connect function and take the second argument as a callback function. So if you can see over here, the first argument is the URI string that contains the main location of the Mongo database, at which port or at which server it is being running. And the second argument is the callback function. So as soon as MongoDB is successfully connected to the node server, so this function would be executed. So I want to display it as console.log connected to database. So at this point of time, as soon as we will be connecting to our database, so our I can see this response as connected to the database. So now let's test this implementation. So at this point of time, we have successfully connected our node server to our Mongo database, and now what and also we have created some a modular type of approach, like we have created a connection to database in another file, and we have imported that module from that file, and again uh, run that particular command after initialization of our server. So that's how things in real life approach toward a particular project creation. So now we have successfully created to our Mongo database, and now what we can do is we can have some operation, like we can take the data and let it get it stored within our database. But uh, prior to that, we have to define our schema. Schema is nothing but like defining a particular object, what that object would be containing. Like for example, if I want to create a simple uh, field that consists of name as well as email, that should be stored. So that definitely should store these two fields, none other than no other field can be stored within that database. So I would be initially having a new schema named as schema.js. I would be creating a simple user schema. So prior to that, so again I have to import the main Mongo module, and again so that would be required, and again so I would be referencing to the main Mongoose uh, module, and now I would be creating a new instance of this. So this Mongoose package contains a new class name as schema. So what I would be writing as mongoose.schema. And again, while declaring classes, so previous was one was function when I have declared this express and called it. So basically, it have made the instance, but again, it do have some prior prototype object already contained. So uh, in this schema, so schema is a class. So to initialize this schema class in a new instance, so I would be writing a new keyword or before that, and again, so that would be initiated having the initial value. So what this schema would contain? So this schema would contain a special type of entries, like what type of object it would be containing. So initially it would be a simple, for example, first name. uh, just like neglect the value part. So we would be coming towards the value part. So initially we would be creating a object. So it would be containing the first name as well as the last name along with email ID. Okay. So now let's come toward the value part. So what its value should be? So its value should be what type of data this first name should contain. So again, it would be object. Again, we would be defining the type. If you can see, it already have the type keyword. So it would be containing a type of like a string. And again, we can also give a default value to it. It can have a default value of simple, rather it simple empty string. Let it be. Now, again, for other two value also. So we have this same type string and default empty. And again, we can also give a new field name as phone number to it, like phone number, and we can give it as type number, and we can default it to zero value. And again, now we have to export this particular schema to our Mongo database. So how can I do is like declaring a particular data set to it. Like I can just type as I've written it earlier, like module dot exports is equal to, we would be calling this function from the mongoose. So as we have created this particular new schema, so we have to create a model for it. So mongoose have a new function, has already have a function named as model. So we would be creating a new model with the name of user, and again we would be declaring what user model should contain. User model should contain this particular schema. So I would be just referencing to it as user schema. So at this point of time, we have successfully created our schema, what type of data that this user model would be containing, and we can have some special operation perform on this user schema. So now, uh, getting back to our original server. So at this point of time, we have created our server, and yeah, we have successfully connected to the database. Now getting back to this local host. So by default, port number of MongoDB is 27017, and we will be connecting to this. So it have a bunch of module already present. So but if you see over here, so I have connected to this uh, database name as scalar, but there is no entry named as scalar. So till now, our database have not been created till any operation have been performed. So now we would be performing our first operation in order to get our values. So what it should have is, so initially getting back to the Postman, so we have to value name and email. So I would be just getting this name and email from our request dot query. So what this do is basically destructure this. It can be returned as like cause name is equal to request dot query dot name, and again for email it can be written as email like this. I have prevented these two lines to be formed as request dot query is an object dot query is an object containing two variables, name as well as email. So instead of writing dot name dot email, so I have destructured these two property and stored it within this particular constant, preventing these two lines to be formed. So this is a common syntax that we use in our day-to-day life while having writing objects. So basically, if we want to console this, so basically I would be getting the two values, the name as well as the email. So I would be writing the console.log name, comma email. So again, restarting my whole server. So connected to the database. So when I hit send, so I can see my name Raghav as well as my email ID. So I want to store this. I can also add a new field name as number representing my number 987654321. Cool. So when I again send, so again I have to declare this as number, restart my server, and again let's check the implementation out. And I hit send. Okay, so I have to console.log number. Cool. So when I check the implementation, so again my number have been successfully been taken. And now, so what I will be doing is, so I would be importing this schema from this module. So what I will be doing is above this, so I would be importing the whole schema within this user model, and again along with the require function that have this schema. And again now this is the main database model that I can use within this module. So what I can do with this is I can just declare. So basically, the term that I have declared over here is a class. So schema is a class that created an instance. Again, that contain a new class through which we can create a smaller instances. So I would be writing, declaring a variable name as new user. I would be creating a class, new class with it, new user. And what this user class would be containing is total four entries. That is first name, last name, email ID, and phone number. Again, we don't have the first name and as well as the last name, so I would be writing from here first name along with last name being graph. And yeah, so again I would be writing here as first name along with last name. And let's last time test the implementation along with email. So commenting this out. npm start. And yeah, when I click on send, So yeah, definitely I would be getting the first name, last name, email ID, as well as the phone number. So what I can do is I would be creating a new instance of the user class that I have created, and I would be passing the whole object that I already have. So initially, I would be copying these four items from the schema. Again, neglect the values. So again, the next is email ID, and the next is the phone number. Now we would be having a new values. So basically copying this, pasting directly to the value field. If you see over here, so again we have created an object with the key value pairs, denoting first name as first key and the value as the upper value. So this first name denotes the schema key, and this first name denotes the value that is being taken from the query parameters. Again, when I have created a new instance. Now I want to save this particular instance in my database. Now what I will do is simply write user dot save. So it will basically save the whole object in the database. But now obviously our save function take will take some time as our database is online. For example, if our database is online, so it will have some latency as well as the request sent to that particular Mongo database, and that would be saving that, and again we will be getting back the response. So there would be a delay in which all the operations have been performed. So basically we will be using the async await functions in order to wait for this save command to get executed, and then we would be sending the response. But if we just by default we go with this particular scenario, so basically it will not wait for the data to save in the database. Rather, it will throw back a response. We want our data won't be saved within the local data or the Mongo database. So basically, instead of user, so we have to declare this new user variable over here. So it's my mistake. So I have created an instance over here. So new user dot save. So that's basically take this particular whole bunch of user object and would be saving this to our MongoDB database. And now, so I would be converting this simple synchronous function to asynchronous function, and I would be waiting till the time this new user saved to the database, and then we would be returning a response. So what we can return in the response is again the same, or we can just type true. So now let me execute it again. Now getting back to the Mongo compass, if I hit refresh, so again a new collection have been made along with a new schema that we have already created. So as soon as we have connected to the database, Mongo itself connect to the database again. It will generate a new schema to it as we have declared it here, mongoose.model. So it will create a new schema within our database, and now it does not have any entry. But again, when we get back to the Postman, now when I hit send, now it has given me a response of true. Now let's check our database. So when I hit refresh, so a new entry have been there within our database. So again, when I change the name to Shivai Lamba and xyz@gmail.com and 0123456789. Let's send it and test the implementation. So when I hit refresh, again, yeah, Shivai name is also there within the database. So this is the initial thing that we have done. And now what if I want to get the data from the database. So now I would be creating a new implementation as app.get having get data. So it a name of a new endpoint. So that I would be using. So again, that would be an asynchronous function. So as I want to wait for the response to fetch, and then that would be returned to the screen. Return response.json, and again that would be containing that object. So initially, I want to retrieve uh, all the list of user that are available in that module. So what I will be doing is declaring a variable user list equal to user. So at this point of time, I will be performing some operation user dot find. So this is the find operation. If you see over here, so we have a bunch of operation over here. So the first one is the find. So basically finding a particular instance from our database. If I simply write find and with along with parenthesis, so basically it give all the result within that all the data list that is available within the database. Find one means simply finding a particular one instance. Find by ID means this one. If we have this ID over here, so basically that object will be returned. And again, we have a bunch of other operations too, which we can perform. So we would be having the find operation to get all the user lists that are available within the database. So I have used this, but at this point of time, it will not return any data as user.find will take some time to fetch all the result and give it back. So instead of that, so I would be writing await over here. So waiting for the MongoDB to fetch all the data and then returning to it. And again, now I would be having user list uh, displayed over here. Again, yeah, sorry, yeah. So we have already given response.json. So I have basically take all the data from this user object and return within the response of this particular function. So I would be again reinitializing the whole server and yeah. So now getting back to the Postman, now we would be testing our new implementation. So again, copying this copying this particular port number as well as IP address. So yeah, and now I would be getting this particular endpoint get data, and when I hit send, okay, it took a particular instance, but let's see what's the error. So basically, if something goes wrong, so we can use our try catch block in order to so that our main API would keep on working. So what can be the possible error? And again, npm start. Okay, console.error is not a function because console.error is a function. So let it, let's check it out. Okay, rest is not defined. Oh, we have not declared the request and response over here. That's why it was throwing error. So there was no problem with our code base, just we have not passed the argument over here. So now when I hit send, so we successfully get all the data from the database that is available within the database. But again, when we test out the implementation again, so we have the new name ABC over here, XYZ, and again we have the phone number over here. When I hit send, So initially we have two entries, the first entry and the second entry. When I again send over here, so we have the third entry that we have made just now with this simple API request. So this is how we can use our own, we can create our own servers, as well as we can connect to the Mongo database, and we can do some operations over the data, how we can get the data, as well as how we can throw the data to a particular API response. So in the previous module, so we have connected some of the API through the front end, and as same as that, so you can basically connect these API to the front end.